Today I'm outside the Inverleith Bar. It used to be known as Spears, a pub with a very peculiar customer. I'm here with Douglas Ormiston, a regular when the bar was known as Spears, and he has an interesting story about a character called Eck the Cadger. Hector Ramsay was a resident of the Golden Acre area. He acquired the name Eck the Cadger due to many requests of credit from local shops and pubs. The story goes that one afternoon sometime in the early 1970s, Eck died after being hit by a bus. It happened less than an hour after winning a substantial sum from a nearby bookies. In an unfortunate twist of fate, he never got a chance to spend a penny of his winnings.
So it was a number of years ago when the incident occurred. I was in the pub before the football. I'd come to meet a friend when I noticed an older gentleman at the bar. Given his dress sense, he seemed a little bit out of place.
How do you mean his dress sense? Was he wearing old-fashioned clothes? Did he have outlandish clothes or what?
They weren't outlandish, no. They were very sort of 1960s flat cap, sort of working man's clothes, which threw me a little bit.
And then what happened after that?
After that, he turned and acknowledged me and sort of gave me a cheers. So I returned the gesture. And I noticed that I'd almost finished my pint, so I decided to go up to the bar and get myself another one, and whilst I was there I thought I'd get the gentleman one as well.
Doing a decent thing?
Yeah, that's it. So I went up to the bar and got myself another pint and decided to buy the older gentleman a nip whilst I was up there. So I said to the barman, can you just pass that nip along to the older gentleman at the end of the bar? And the barman appeared quite taken aback, quite shocked. There's no older gentleman at the end of the bar.
Really?
There wasn't anyone of that description. Had been in all day, according to the barman.
All right, so he completely disappeared?
He disappeared.
Isn't it possible that perhaps he had went to spend a penny or had nipped out when you were at the bar, or?
No, because I'd only sort of acknowledged him and then headed to the bar. It was a matter of 20 seconds.
It's very puzzling, isn't it?
It's very puzzling.
This is Warriston Terrace, where Hector Ramsay, aka Eck the Cadger, is said to have lived. Over the years, sightings of Eck have occurred long after his death. In 1983, a postman called Hugh Roberts, making deliveries on Warriston Terrace, claimed to have wished a man fitting Eck's description good morning, and was greeted in return with a tip of the man's cap. Seconds later, the passing stranger vanished halfway along the road. In 1992, a customer from the nearby junior garage, named Robin Kelly, claims that an old man wearing a flat cap waved to him from across the road. Although puzzled as to who the stranger was, Robin returned the gesture, only to see the man in the cap disappear at the corner of the street. Could he be following the same route to his favourite pub, to cadge a drink? Cadge, that's to get one for free. Other North Edinburgh nightmare occurred not far from here a few years ago. Anna Pearson from Hampshire will tell you the story of what she encountered on terrifying New Year's Day.
On New Year's morning of 2009, my boyfriend and I witnessed something terrifying in the grounds of Warriston Graveyard. To this day, I still do not fully understand just who or what we met that day. It was a crisp, sunny morning on the first day of the year. I was visiting relatives in the Trinity area of Edinburgh with my boyfriend when we decided to go for a walk along the walkways that led to the nearby Warriston graveyard. At first, the ground seemed pleasant and peaceful with good weather and not a soul to see. We spent time reading the many old gravestones and enjoying the quiet when we suddenly spotted an older man approaching. He seemed pleasant and acknowledged us with a greeting of Happy New Year. For some reason, I felt the need to turn to look, but when I did, the man had vanished. As strange as it was, we continued and moved on to the lower part of the graveyard. It was here things became creepy. After a short while, I became aware that there were now no birds and no sounds at all. I became immersed in a feeling of sheer dread and a sense that something did not want us there. I wanted out of there as quick as possible, and we left immediately. After leaving the graveyard, we found a nearby coffee shop to sit and reflect on our experience. Soon afterwards, we were back to normal and listening to the lunchtime news. To our absolute horror, the main story that New Year's Day was the discovery of human remains on the same walkway where we had just been.
Not far from the Inverleith lies a vast network of abandoned railway lines, now used by cyclists, dog walkers, and even sometimes the odd ghost.
Our next story occurred during the summer of 2016. The location, the sprawling network of paths in the Trinity and Warriston area. Previously the site of a railway line, the network converted in the mid-1980s. Although the physical appearance has significantly changed, the dark and foreboding atmosphere remains. The protagonists of the story have asked to remain anonymous. They have, however, agreed to discuss the events of what happened that day.
If I remember correctly, it was during the school holidays in April of 2016. I was out cycling with my brother and his daughter on the cycle path from Cannon Mills towards Warriston Graveyard. There were many other cyclists on the path, and it was a generally pleasant sunny afternoon. We passed Ferry Road and over the junction close to Trinity Academy when we noticed somebody standing in the middle of the path. We slowed down as we approached, but the figure did not move. It was at this point that the man continued to walk into the entrance of the long tunnel on the East Trinity Road.
The three of us continued through the tunnel. The light of the tunnel was dark and visibility poor, but we could still make out the shape of the man in front of us. We asked the man to allow us to pass, but he ignored us and kept walking. The cycle from the entrance to the end of the tunnel seemed to go on forever. Eventually, the light of the end of the tunnel came into view. As the three of us emerged into the afternoon sun, I noticed something extraordinary. The silent figure from the tunnel had vanished into mid-air.
My brother and his daughter were just as puzzled as I was. We could not believe what had just happened. He was there, dead in front of us, and had vanished as soon as the light had appeared. We checked the surrounding area to see if he had possibly climbed up the steep embankment, but there was absolutely no trace of him. To say we were in shock would be putting it mildly.
We got back on the bikes and out of the vicinity of the tunnel as quick as possible. We said nothing till we reached the end of the path at the beginning of Lower Granton Road. We asked ourselves what had just happened, but could not make any sense of it at all. Still to this day, we do not have a clue what happened to the man in the tunnel. We have never been back along that area, and to tell you the truth, won't be any day soon.
This unusual tale is not the first to feature the East Trinity Road Tunnel. Strange sightings have occurred for decades. Travellers on the walkway have reported lights, strange sounds, and even stones thrown at them as they have passed through the long dark tunnel. There has, however, only been one report of the vanishing stranger that I have heard to date.
Professor Vincent Benton is a historian of the Warriston area and an expert in local folklore. In the next piece, he will tell you the story of a famous resident who lives not far from where we are just now, a resident of Warriston Cemetery.
Warriston Cemetery, situated in the north of Edinburgh, is home to many stories of the supernatural. Today we're going to explore the tale of Mary Ann Robertson, better known around these parts as the Red Lady. Miss Robertson died in 1858 at the age of 32 after contracting a deadly fever. For many years she would rest in the peace and tranquility of her lavish tomb, an impressive and beautiful structure, the finest in the entire cemetery. In 1978, the tomb fell victim to senseless desecration, with the Red Lady's skull taken as a morbid trophy. It was only after this needless vandalism that the strange appearances commenced. In 1981, a council employee who was cutting the grass near the tomb of the Red Lady was taken aback when he saw something strange. A young woman wearing what looked like a wedding dress walked straight past him towards the crypts. Concerned by the woman's strange attire, he looked to see where she was going, but upon further inspection, she had vanished. During the day, Warriston Cemetery is a quiet and peaceful place to visit, but when night falls, it becomes a very different place indeed. In 1984, a local man tending to a relative's grave noticed a woman in white wandering through the gravestones and heading towards the Red Lady's final resting place. As he began to walk back to his car, he noticed the same ghostly figure watching him from the confines of the crypt. He left in a hurry that day. Many of Edinburgh's graveyards are associated with historical stories of the supernatural, but none of them remotely like the terrifying stories of Warriston. In the winter of 1987, a dog walker witnessed a strange figure in white walking through the snow along the path crossing the vaults of the cemetery. Ignoring his hesitant dog's growls of warning, he followed a trail of freshly made footprints through the snow. Upon reaching the tomb of the Red Lady, the trail stopped without a trace. As the end of the century drew near, activity and sightings of the Red Lady became less frequent. However, there was to be one other incident, possibly the most fearful one of all. In the summer of 1990, a group of naive local youths carried out a crude yet successful séance in a property near to Warriston Cemetery. The ritual continued over 5 nights, and each night the Ouija board spelt out the letters M-A-R. The teenagers were puzzled by the letters, but continued nevertheless, until violent occurrences in the property ensued. Ornaments flew around the room, lights exploded, and a garden shed burst into flames. Could the letters on the Ouija board possibly have announced Mary Ann Robertson's presence? Does the spectre of Mary Ann Robertson continue to walk the paths of Warriston Cemetery? Has her spirit found the peace she has searched for and returned to the tomb of the Red Lady? Why not stop by and pay a visit to Warriston Graveyard, one day or night, and find out for yourself.